The forgotten call of Earth. The endless void of space shimmered with the cold light of distant stars. Among them, a massive alien armada carved through the darkness, a juggernaut of galactic power and pride. The Zorathian Empire, rulers of 1,000 systems, advanced with the confidence of conquerors, their fleet a display of engineering perfection and overwhelming firepower. The centerpiece of this formidable force, the dreadnought Vrenar, led the charge, its sleek hull bristling with weapons capable of reducing entire planets to ash. High Chancellor Xerxes stood tall on the observation deck, his figure imposing and statuesque. His blue-gray skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and his piercing violet eyes scanned the holographic projection of a solar system ahead. At the center of the projection, a small, vibrant planet rotated slowly, a curious mix of green and blue. Xerxes' lip curled into a smirk as he observed it. "This is the infamous Earth," Xerxes said, his voice smooth but laced with disdain. A backwater rock filled with primitive life forms, yet somehow its name persists in whispers across the galaxy. Behind him, strategist Vikar stepped forward, his angular features sharp with confidence. "Legends, Chancellor. Nothing more. Stories from desperate species seeking to rationalize their defeats. No species as fractured and technologically primitive as the humans could ever pose a threat to the Empire." Xerxes nodded, his gaze fixed on the planet. "And yet, the myth of humanity's resilience endures. They say they once defeated fleets far superior to their own. They say their ingenuity knows no bounds. Today, we will end these tales." The Zorathian fleet approached Earth's solar system with calculated precision. Scouts reported minimal defenses, outdated satellites, scattered stations, and debris fields from abandoned projects. To the Zorathians, it was laughable. Their sensors barely acknowledged the signals coming from the planet's surface, dismissing them as inconsequential noise. But as they drew closer, subtle anomalies began to creep into their data streams. "Chancellor," a comms officer reported, his voice uncertain, "we're detecting faint energy signatures near the moon. They're irregular but persistent." Xerxes dismissed the report with a wave of his hand. "Irrelevant. Continue the advance." But strategist Vikar frowned. "Perhaps we should analyze these signals further, Chancellor. If they are human in origin, it may indicate a level of ingenuity we have not accounted for." Xerxes turned sharply, his violet eyes narrowing. "Do you doubt the supremacy of the Zorathian Empire, strategist?" Vikar straightened, his expression neutral. "Never, Chancellor, but caution has won us more victories than arrogance." The High Chancellor regarded him for a moment before turning back to the holographic display. "Proceed with caution, then, but do not delay our conquest. This planet will kneel before us by day's end." As the fleet moved past the orbit of Mars, Earth's moon loomed larger on their displays. Its surface, riddled with craters and shadows, seemed silent and lifeless. But beneath that silence lay the first hint of humanity's ingenuity. Deep within hidden facilities, shielded from prying eyes, Earth's defenders prepared to unveil their counterstrike. On the surface of the moon, Captain Alina Drake stood at the helm of the Erebus Command Center. The underground base buzzed with controlled chaos as technicians and soldiers worked tirelessly at their stations. Holographic displays lit up the dark chamber, showing the approaching Zorathian fleet in startling detail. "They're here," Drake said, her voice steady but tense. She was a striking figure, her auburn hair pulled back into a tight braid, her green eyes sharp with determination. A scar ran down her left cheek, a souvenir from humanity's last brush with annihilation. Beside her, Admiral Marcus Holt leaned on the central console, his expression grim. "They're underestimating us. That's their first mistake." Drake nodded. "And we'll make sure it's their last." Humanity's survival had always hinged on its ability to adapt and innovate. Decades ago, Earth's nations had set aside their differences, uniting under a single banner when faced with the prospect of extinction. The moon had become the centerpiece of their defense strategy, its surface housing advanced weaponry and cloaked facilities invisible to alien sensors. But the true masterpiece of human ingenuity lay hidden in Earth's orbit. "Is the Aegis Protocol ready?" Drake asked, her voice cutting through the room's tension. A young technician nodded. "All systems are green, Captain. The fleet won't know what hit them." Drake allowed herself a small, grim smile. "Good. Let's remind the galaxy who we are." The Zorathian fleet crossed the moon's orbit, their formation flawless. Scouts darted ahead, transmitting data back to the main fleet. To the Zorathians, it was a routine operation, a formality before their inevitable victory. But as they neared Earth, the anomalies grew more frequent. "Chancellor," Vicar said, his tone cautious, "the energy signatures are increasing in intensity. They appear to be originating from multiple points near the moon's surface." Xerix frowned. "Deploy probes. Identify the source of these anomalies." The probes launched, sleek and fast, but as they approached the moon, they vanished from the fleet's sensors one by one. The command deck fell silent as officers exchanged uneasy glances. "What is the meaning of this?" Xerix demanded. Before anyone could respond, the first strike came. A beam of searing light erupted from the moon's surface, slicing through the void with pinpoint precision. One of the Zorathian cruisers exploded in a brilliant flash, its debris scattering into the darkness. "Ambush!" An officer shouted as alarms blared across the deck. Xerix's expression darkened. "So, the humans do have teeth. All units, engage defensive protocols and return fire." The fleet adjusted, their formation tightening as they prepared to retaliate. But before they could act, the moon erupted with activity. Camouflaged launch sites revealed themselves, firing a volley of missiles toward the fleet. At the same time, hidden railguns discharged kinetic projectiles at near-light speeds, tearing through Zorathian ships like paper. Strategist Vicar watched the chaos unfold, his mind racing. "Chancellor, these weapons, they're far more advanced than our intelligence suggested." Xerix clenched his fists, his voice a low growl. "No matter. Overwhelm them with numbers. Deploy the Legion." But even as Zorathian dropships prepared to launch, another anomaly appeared on their sensors. This time, it wasn't coming from the moon. It was coming from Earth itself. On the surface of Earth, hidden within a massive underground bunker, a team of scientists activated the Aegis Protocol. The room hummed with energy as a massive array of orbital platforms came online. These platforms, equipped with experimental energy weapons, were humanity's ace in the hole, a final line of defense against any invader foolish enough to challenge them. Drake's voice echoed through the comms. "To all stations, fire at will. Let them know what it means to face humanity." As the Zorathian fleet struggled to regroup, beams of concentrated energy rained down from Earth's orbit. The once confident armada was thrown into disarray as ship after ship was destroyed. For the first time in centuries, the Zorathians faced an enemy that could match their strength. On the observation deck of the Vrenar, Xerix watched in stunned silence as his fleet faltered. The holographic projection of Earth seemed to mock him, its vibrant colors a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding around him. "Chancellor," Vicar said quietly, "it seems the legends were true." Xerix's eyes burned with fury. "Then we will show them why legends are meant to die." Humanity's hidden arsenal. The Zorathian fleet trembled under the sudden onslaught of Earth's unexpected retaliation. Where they had anticipated the conquest of a docile, primitive world, they were now facing an enemy that seemed to have prepared for this very moment for generations. On board the Vrenar, High Chancellor Xerix paced the observation deck, his violet eyes scanning the chaotic battle unfolding on the holographic displays. "Report," Xerix barked, his voice sharp and commanding. Strategist Vekar, his expression tight with suppressed anxiety, stepped forward. "Chancellor, we've confirmed multiple weapon systems originating from both the Moon and Earth's orbit. These systems are far more advanced than initial intelligence suggested. Their orbital platforms are targeting us with energy weapons of unprecedented precision. Xerx clenched his jaw. Unprecedented for primitives. They've hidden their true capabilities well. But they cannot match the might of the Zorathian Empire. Order the fleet to regroup and neutralize those platforms. As Vekar relayed the orders, the fleet began to reorganize. Ships pulled into tighter formations, shielding the more vulnerable vessels while dreadnoughts moved to the forefront. The Zorathians fired back with overwhelming force, their energy cannons lighting up the void as they aimed at the concealed platforms. But humanity had anticipated this. The platforms, equipped with advanced stealth technology and decoys, evaded the Zorathian fire with an elegance that belied their destructive power. For every platform, the Zorathians managed to destroy. 2 more seemed to appear, their beams slicing through the alien fleet with surgical precision. Deep within the underground command center on Earth, Admiral Marcus Holt observed the unfolding battle with grim satisfaction. The room buzzed with activity, technicians shouting updates and commands as holographic displays tracked the Zorathian movements. "They're adjusting their formation," Captain Alina Drake said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "They're trying to neutralize the orbital platforms." Holt nodded, his gaze fixed on the main display. "They'll find that easier said than done. Humanity has always thrived under pressure. We adapt. We innovate. And when backed into a corner, we strike harder than anyone expects." Drake smirked. "I think they're starting to figure that out." The Aegis Protocol was humanity's crowning achievement, the culmination of decades of unified effort following the near-cataclysmic events of the early 21st century. What began as a desperate attempt to defend against an increasingly hostile galaxy had evolved into a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Every weapon, every platform, and every tactic had been designed with one goal in mind: survival. "Admiral," a technician called out, "we've detected movement near Mars. It looks like they're deploying reinforcements." Holt frowned. "Reinforcements? From where?" The technician hesitated. "It appears to be a second fleet, smaller but heavily armed. They must have stationed them just outside the system." Drake's expression darkened. "They were holding back. Testing us." Holt's jaw tightened. "And now they think they've found our limit. Let's show them how wrong they are." Activate Phase 2 of the Aegis Protocol. On the Moon, the Erebus Command Center came alive with new energy as the order for Phase 2 was relayed. Beneath the lunar surface, massive silos began to hum with power as humanity's most devastating weapons prepared to launch. Captain Drake stood at the center of the command room, her green eyes blazing with determination. "All units, this is not a drill. Target their reinforcements. Make every shot count." The lunar silos launched a barrage of kinetic projectiles, each one accelerated to near-light speeds. These weapons, often referred to as Godslayers by their operators, were capable of penetrating even the most advanced shields. As the projectiles streaked through the void, the Zorathian reinforcements found themselves under immediate and unrelenting attack. "Direct hits on multiple targets," a technician reported, his voice filled with awe. "Their formation is breaking." Drake allowed herself a brief smile. "Good. Let's keep them off balance." But even as humanity's counterattack gained momentum, the Zorathians adapted. On board the Vrenar, High Chancellor Xerx issued new orders, his mind racing to outmaneuver these unexpected developments. "Deploy the Legion," Xerx commanded, his voice cold and resolute. "If their weapons are advanced, then we will meet them with overwhelming force. Prepare the dropships." The Zorathian Legion was the Empire's most fearsome asset, a ground force of elite soldiers equipped with advanced exosuits and weaponry. Each soldier was a walking arsenal, trained to annihilate any resistance they encountered. As the dropships descended toward Earth, humanity prepared to face the next phase of the invasion. In the skies above Earth, the first wave of Zorathian dropships broke through the atmosphere, their sleek hulls glowing as they withstood the planet's entry heat. They deployed in precise formations, aiming for strategic locations to establish beachheads. On the ground, humanity's defenses roared to life. Automated turrets, concealed bunkers, and mobile artillery units unleashed a relentless barrage at the descending ships. The skies lit up with fire and smoke as the two forces clashed. In one of Earth's hidden command bunkers, Lieutenant Sarah Carter coordinated the ground response. Her voice was calm but commanding as she directed units to intercept the invaders. Alpha Team, take the western flank. Bravo, hold the line at Sector 7. Do not let them gain a foothold. Outside, the battle raged. The Zorathian soldiers, clad in their advanced exosuits, met fierce resistance from human forces. What the Zorathians lacked in numbers, they made up for in raw power, their weapons cutting through defenses with ruthless efficiency. But humanity fought back with ingenuity and determination, using the terrain to their advantage and deploying tactics that kept the invaders on the defensive. On board the Vrinar, strategist Vakar observed the ground battle with growing unease. Chancellor, their resistance is far more coordinated than anticipated. They're utilizing guerrilla tactics and leveraging their environment to devastating effect. Xerex's expression hardened. Then we will burn their environment to the ground. Deploy the atmospheric disruptors. Vecker hesitated. Chancellor, the disruptors will cause catastrophic damage to their biosphere. It will render the planet uninhabitable. Xerex's violet eyes burned with fury. They have chosen defiance. If they will not kneel, they will burn. But even as the disruptors prepared to fire, a new anomaly appeared on the fleet's sensors. It wasn't coming from the moon or Earth's orbit. It was coming from deep within Earth itself. Chancellor, Vakar said, his voice tinged with disbelief, we're detecting massive energy readings from beneath the planet's surface. It's unlike anything we've seen before. Xerex's gaze snapped to the display, his mind racing. What are they hiding now? As the ground shook and the skies above Earth seemed to pulse with an unearthly glow, humanity prepared to unveil its final, most audacious weapon, one that would change the course of the battle forever. The awakening beneath Earth. The tremors beneath the Earth's surface reverberated across the globe, subtle but undeniable. To the Zorathian invaders, it was an enigma, another anomaly in a conflict filled with unexpected surprises. But for humanity, it was a long-awaited awakening, the final card in a game that had been played for centuries. Deep within the Earth's crust, a dormant power stirred, the culmination of decades of secret research and collaboration. In the underground command bunker, Admiral Marcus Holt stood motionless as the seismic readings on the central display spiked. Beside him, Captain Alina Drake's hands hovered over her console, her eyes wide with anticipation. "Is this it?" Drake asked, her voice a whisper filled with both awe and trepidation. Holt nodded, his expression grim. "It's time. Activate Project Atlas." Miles beneath the Earth's surface, hidden from prying eyes by layers of rock and sophisticated cloaking fields, lay humanity's ultimate defense, Project Atlas. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was something far more ambitious, something born out of humanity's ingenuity and desperation to survive. Buried in a massive subterranean chamber, Atlas resembled a colossal mechanical giant, its form dormant but imposing. Its design was a seamless blend of human engineering and reverse-engineered alien technology, a testament to humanity's ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Pulsing conduits of energy ran along its frame, glowing with a strange, otherworldly light. Around it, teams of engineers and scientists worked feverishly, their movements synchronized and precise. Dr. Leila Novak, the lead scientist behind the project, stood at the central console, her hands flying over the controls. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. "Charging sequence at 80%, she announced, her voice cutting through the cacophony of the control room. "Prepare for full activation." The chamber trembled as Atlas began to stir. Its massive limbs twitched, and its core glowed brighter, illuminating the chamber with a golden light. Around the room, the air seemed to hum with anticipation. "All systems green. A technician called out. "Project Atlas is ready." Dr. Novak leaned into her microphone, her voice steady. "Admiral Holt, we're online, releasing Atlas into the field." Above ground, the battle raged on. The Zorathian Legion pressed their assault, their advanced weaponry carving through human defenses. But for every gain they made, humanity struck back with equal ferocity, refusing to yield an inch of their planet. In one of the embattled cities, Lieutenant Sarah Carter led a group of resistance fighters through the shattered ruins. The streets were a war zone, littered with debris and the remnants of destroyed vehicles. Overhead, Zorathian dropships loomed like dark specters, their weapons firing relentlessly. "Keep moving," Carter shouted, her voice barely audible over the chaos. "We need to hold this line." Her team advanced, using the wreckage for cover as they fired at the approaching Zorathian soldiers. Despite their technological superiority, the invaders were struggling to maintain momentum. Humanity's guerrilla tactics, combined with their knowledge of the terrain, were proving to be a formidable challenge. But even as Carter fought to hold the line, a shadow passed over her. Looking up, she saw a massive Zorathian walker, a towering machine bristling with weapons, approaching her position. "Take cover," she yelled, diving behind a collapsed wall, as the walker unleashed a barrage of firepower. The ground shook as explosions tore through the street. Carter gritted her teeth, clutching her rifle as the walker closed in. This was it, she thought. They had reached their limit. And then, the ground itself seemed to rise against the invaders. The Zorathian walker paused, its sensors registering a massive energy spike beneath the earth. Before it could react, the ground erupted in a blinding flash of light. From the depths emerged Atlas, its colossal form breaking through the surface like a titan rising from the abyss. For a moment, everything stopped. The Zorathians, the resistance fighters, even the machines, all turned their attention to the towering figure now dominating the battlefield. Standing over 200 feet tall, Atlas was a marvel of engineering and power, its frame glowing with the energy coursing through its core. Its head turned, scanning the battlefield with glowing blue eyes that seemed almost alive. Inside the command bunker, Dr. Novak's voice echoed through the comms. "Atlas is online. All systems operational." On the observation deck of the Vrenar, High Chancellor Zarek stared at the projection of Atlas, his expression a mix of shock and fury. "What is this?" he demanded. "How did they create such a thing?" Strategist Vekar's voice was tight with disbelief. "Chancellor, this is unlike anything we've encountered. It's not just a machine. It's a hybrid. They've used our own technology against us." Zarek's fists clenched. "Then we will destroy it. All units, focus fire on that abomination." On the battlefield, Atlas moved with surprising speed and precision for its size. Its massive arms swung with devastating force, crushing Zorathian walkers and scattering their forces. Its integrated weaponry unleashed a torrent of firepower, cutting through the invaders with ruthless efficiency. Inside Atlas, a team of operators worked in perfect synchronization, their neural interfaces allowing them to control the machine as if it were an extension of their own bodies. At the helm was Commander Ethan Cole, a decorated pilot chosen for his unparalleled skill and adaptability. "Systems are holding steady," Cole reported, his voice calm despite the chaos around him. "Engaging primary targets." As Atlas tore through the Zorathian forces, humanity's defenders rallied. Inspired by the sight of their ultimate weapon, resistance fighters pushed back with renewed vigor, their battle cries echoing through the war-torn streets. Carter, still crouched behind cover, watched in awe as Atlas dismantled the Zorathian walker that had nearly ended her team. "Looks like the cavalry's here," she muttered, a grin spreading across her face. But even as Atlas turned the tide of the battle, the Zorathians refused to retreat. Above the battlefield, Zarek issued new orders, his voice cold and unyielding. "Activate the atmospheric disruptors," he commanded. "If they want to fight like gods, we will bring the heavens down upon them." In orbit, massive Zorathian devices began to power up, their purpose clear. They would unleash a storm unlike any Earth had ever seen, disrupting the planet's atmosphere and rendering it uninhabitable. Inside Atlas, Commander Cole received the warning. "Disruptors detected," his operator said. "They're going to wipe out the planet." Cole's jaw tightened. "Not on my watch. Let's show them what humanity is capable of." As the battle reached its climax, Atlas turned its gaze to the sky. Its operators prepared for the ultimate showdown, a fight not just for survival, but for the very future of humanity. The sky burns. The atmosphere over Earth shimmered with unnatural colors, a kaleidoscope of chaos as the Zorathian disruptors powered up. Clouds swirled and twisted, unnatural storms forming within minutes, and lightning danced across the skies with ominous fury. The disruptors were doing exactly what they were designed to do: turn Earth's atmosphere into an uninhabitable maelstrom of destruction. For the Zorathians, it was a ruthless but effective strategy. For humanity, it was the ultimate threat. In the underground command bunker, Admiral Marcus Holt stared at the readings on the main display. The disruptors' energy signatures were spiking, and the damage to Earth's atmosphere was accelerating. "They're escalating," Captain Alina Drake said, her voice tight with urgency. "If those disruptors fully activate, we lose everything. Our forces, our planet, our future." Holt nodded grimly. This was always their fallback. They can't win on the ground, so they'll destroy what they can't conquer. Drake's hands clenched into fists. "What are our options, sir?" Holt's gaze shifted to the holographic projection of Atlas, still towering on the battlefield and laying waste to the Zorathian forces. "We send Atlas into space." Drake's eyes widened. "You can't be serious. It's barely battle-tested on the surface, let alone in orbit." "It's our best shot," Holt replied. "Atlas was designed for scenarios just like this. If we lose the atmosphere, nothing else matters." Inside Atlas, Commander Ethan Cole adjusted the neural interface that linked his mind to the giant machine. Every movement, every decision felt as natural as breathing. But the strain was beginning to show. Controlling such a massive construct required immense focus and stamina, and Cole's team was already nearing their limits. A message from the command bunker came through the comms. "Commander Cole, this is Admiral Holt. We're redirecting your mission. The Zorathians have activated disruptors in orbit. Your new objective is to neutralize them before they destroy the planet." Cole's brows furrowed as he processed the new orders. "You're sending us into space." "That's correct," Holt said. "Atlas was designed for atmospheric and orbital combat. You're our only hope to stop those disruptors." Cole took a deep breath, glancing at his team. They were exhausted, but determination burned in their eyes. "Understood, Admiral. We'll get it done." The operators began recalibrating Atlas for orbital launch. Massive thrusters on its back and legs, previously hidden beneath reinforced panels, deployed with a mechanical hiss. The energy readings spiked as the thrusters powered up, preparing to propel the colossal machine into the void. On the ground, resistance fighters and Zorathian soldiers alike paused in their battles to watch as Atlas began its ascent. The thrusters roared to life, and the giant machine launched into the air, leaving behind a trail of fire and smoke. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a testament to humanity's defiance in the face of annihilation. Lieutenant Sarah Carter, still leading her team in the ruins of a once thriving city, watched as Atlas disappeared into the clouds. She felt a surge of hope, even as the Zorathians regrouped for another attack. "Looks like they're taking the fight to the stars," she said, reloading her weapon. "Let's make sure they've still got a planet to come back to." Her team nodded, rallying behind her as they prepared to hold the line once more. As Atlas broke through the atmosphere, the scale of the Zorathian fleet became fully apparent. Hundreds of ships, from sleek fighters to massive dreadnoughts, surrounded Earth in a near-impenetrable blockade. At the center of the formation were the disruptors, massive, spire-like constructs emitting pulsating waves of energy that destabilized the planet's atmosphere. Inside Atlas, Cole and his team assessed the situation. The neural interface filled their minds with data, providing a seamless flow of information about their surroundings. Disruptors identified, one of the operators reported. There are 3 primary targets. They're heavily shielded and guarded by multiple ships. Cole's jaw tightened. Then we take them out one by one. Prioritize the disruptors. We don't stop until they're down. Atlas's thrusters flared, propelling the massive machine toward the first disruptor. Zorathian ships moved to intercept, their weapons lighting up the void with beams of energy and explosive projectiles. Atlas responded in kind, its integrated railguns and missile systems unleashing a relentless barrage. The first wave of attackers was obliterated, but more ships closed in, their coordinated tactics pressing Atlas to its limits. Inside the cockpit, alarms blared as the operators struggled to manage the incoming fire. We're taking heavy damage to the left arm, one operator reported. Shields are holding, but we can't sustain this level of firepower for long. Cole gritted his teeth. Divert power from secondary systems to the shields. Focus all firepower on the disruptor. As Atlas drew closer to the first disruptor, it unleashed a concentrated beam of energy from its chest-mounted cannon. The beam struck the disruptor's shield, creating a ripple effect across its surface. For a moment, it seemed impenetrable, but then the shield began to buckle under the sustained assault. "Shield is collapsing," an operator shouted. With a final, devastating blast, Atlas's cannon pierced the disruptor, causing it to erupt in a massive explosion. Debris scattered into space, and the atmospheric disturbances began to subside slightly. "One down," Cole said, his voice steady despite the chaos. 2 to go. On the Vrenar, High Chancellor Xerex watched the destruction of the first disruptor with growing rage. "How is this possible?" he demanded, his voice echoing across the command deck. "It's one machine against an entire fleet." Strategist Vakar hesitated before responding. "Chancellor, their technology. It's far more advanced than we anticipated. This Atlas is a masterpiece of engineering." Xerex's fists clenched. "Masterpiece or not, it will fall. Deploy all remaining forces. Destroy that machine at any cost." As Atlas targeted the second disruptor, the Zorathian fleet launched a massive counteroffensive. Dozens of ships converged on the giant machine, their weapons firing in unison. Atlas evaded with surprising agility, its thrusters allowing it to maneuver in ways no one had expected from such a massive construct. Inside the cockpit, the strain on the operators was evident. Sweat dripped down their faces as they fought to keep up with the relentless assault. "Shields are at 30%, one operator reported. "We're not going to make it at this rate." Cole's mind raced. They needed a new strategy. Something bold, something desperate. "Redirect all power to the thrusters," he ordered. "We're going to ram the second disruptor." The operators stared at him in shock, but none of them argued. They began rerouting power as Atlas accelerated toward the second disruptor, ignoring the incoming fire. The Zorathian ships scrambled to intercept, but it was too late. Atlas collided with the disruptor at full speed, its reinforced frame shattering the alien construct in a spectacular explosion. The blast sent shockwaves through the fleet, disabling several nearby ships. "Status?" Cole asked, his voice strained. "Structural integrity is compromised," an operator replied. "But we're still operational." Cole nodded, his focus already on the final disruptor. "One more. Let's finish this." As Atlas turned its attention to the last disruptor, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Zorathians threw everything they had at the giant machine, determined to stop it at all costs. But humanity's resilience burned brighter than ever, driving Atlas forward through the storm of fire and chaos.